Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Neglected Naruto Was Raised by Kakashi Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Punctuality. Sorry I'm late Iruka-sensei, Naruto grinned. Let's go get ramen now. Before we do, Iruka took a deep breath. He was worried that his favorite student might be picking up some of his new teacher's less reputable habits. I need to tell you something. What? Promptness is a sign of respect, the scarred man began. Showing up late is a sign of contempt. If you show up late, you're telling everyone in the meeting that you don't respect them enough to show up on time. I'm sorry, the blonde looked down at his feet. Our mission went a little long and I couldn't get here on time. I didn't mean to tell you I didn't respect you. Don't worry about it. Iruka ruffled the boy's hair. I figured that it was something like that. It's okay if you have a good reason and you're not late all the time. Okay, Naruto's good mood returned. Now let's go get some ramen. Naruto ate several bowls of ramen and returned to his apartment. After brushing his teeth he went to bed and tried to go to sleep. Something's wrong, Naruto muttered to himself. I can't get to sleep because something's bothering me. He stared at his darkened ceiling for several minutes before it came to him. Kakashi is always late and he always gives those lame excuses. Kakashi doesn't respect me. A tear made its way down the boy's cheek. Well then I won't respect him either. It was a very tired Naruto that arrived at his team's meeting place and he waited as the meeting time came and went. I'm going home, Naruto announced. I need to get some more sleep. You can't leave, Sakura streaked. What about Kakashi? You can't just leave, you have to wait until he shows up. Why should I wait for someone I don't respect? Naruto muttered as he began walking away. What? Sakura's eyes widened. That was the last thing she expected to hear from her unwanted teammate. I. Yo. Kakashi gave a lazy grin. You're late, Sakura shouted. Where's Naruto? Kakashi ignored his pink-haired student and looked around. He left sensei, Sakura tattled. He said that he wasn't going to bother waiting for someone he had no respect for. Oh, the masked man nodded. Then you two do some exercises or something while I go get Naruto. Kakashi frowned as he made his way to the wayward Genin's apartment. Whatever did he mean when he said he didn't respect his teacher? Kakashi, Naruto said as the man landed on his windowsill. Something I can do for you. You didn't show up to the meeting, Naruto. Kakashi smiled. Why? I showed up, Naruto protested. And I waited and you didn't show up so I left. You should have waited, Naruto. Kakashi's smile widened. 10-minute rule, Naruto shrugged. If you're not there within 10 minutes of the time you gave then I'll assume that you aren't going to show up. Was there anything else you wanted? You told Sakura that you didn't respect me, Kakashi got to the point. Why? I was talking to someone and they told me something, Naruto paused. They said that showing up on time was a sign of respect and that lateness was a sign of contempt. I don't see the need to show respect for someone that shows me so much contempt. Oh, Kakashi was stunned. How to answer this in a way that would let it die a natural death. You shouldn't worry about it, Naruto. I'm always late. And I'm always on time, Naruto smiled. So if you're not then I won't be there. Anything else? You need to show up to meetings, Naruto, Kakashi scolded. Why? Naruto looked puzzled. If you're not going to show up then why should I? You're my subordinate and I expect you to show up, Kakashi said as he patted Naruto on the head. Can you teach me a cool jutsu? Naruto asked suddenly. Since you are my teacher and all. No, Kakashi replied with a shake of his head. Now run along back to the meeting place. So you're not my teacher then, Naruto said in a tone of understanding. I just wanted to make sure. Bye Kakashi. Naruto wait, Kakashi called out after the blonde who either ignored him or didn't hear. Damn. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief as he ran from his former teacher. It was so relaxing to finally get things out into the open, he mused. And who knows, Maybe his former teammates would follow his example and find teachers of their own. Or wonder of wonders, maybe Kakashi would finally teach them something useful. It was all for the best, Naruto told himself. Better to get everything out into the open and to get a new start than to let things fester. Naruto, Konoha's green beast shouted. What malady has sapped your youthful energy? Hey guy, Naruto said seriously. Can I talk to you about something? What is it, my fine young friend? Guy asked as he struck a pose. Do you have questions about the power of youth? I've heard that you're Kakashi's rival, Naruto began. Would you like to try something that he failed at? Of course I would, Guy agreed. Anything that Kakashi fails at I shall do and succeed. If I don't, then I shall run around Konoha 300 times with one leg tied behind my head, and if I shall fail at that, then I shall walk on my hands for 3 weeks. Wow, Naruto gasped. That sure is impressive. What is your task? Kakashi failed as my teacher. Would you teach me something? What? Guy turned serious. Why do you say that Kakashi failed you? He doesn't have any respect for me, Naruto replied quickly. And he won't teach me anything. I don't think that I should keep a teacher that doesn't respect me and refuses to teach me. Oh, I see, Guy sighed. I'm afraid that I can't be your full-time teacher. Of course not, Naruto said quickly. You've got your own team. I was just hoping that you could give me some training techniques that I could try on my own. Guy looked down at Naruto's hopeful face. Alright, but I think you should give Kakashi another chance. I gave him lots of chances, Naruto shook his head. I even told him I was giving him a chance and he still ignored me. Why should I keep wasting time on Kakashi that I could spend training to be a better ninja? We can talk about this later. Guy didn't like the way this conversation was headed. Why don't I give you some exercises and we can get back to this later? Okay, Naruto nodded. What are you gonna teach me? So what happens? My vague ideas had Naruto begging a bit of training from everyone he knew. He doesn't get much, a bit of advice here and a technique there. My thought was to have this take place before the Chunin exams so Kakashi could use them as a bribe to get Naruto to come back to the team, at least for the duration of the exam. Didn't have any idea on where to take it after that. Omake. The working title was something along the lines of, screw you. Hey Naruto, why were you speaking with the Hokage? Kakashi asked curiously. I was asking her permission to leave Konoha, Naruto replied with a shrug. I just want to see what it would be like to be treated like a normal person. What did she say? Kakashi asked apprehensively. She told me that I could go so long as my teacher gave his permission. Then I forbid it. Kakashi frowned. I do not believe that leaving the village would benefit you at this time. So what? Naruto sneered. Since when have you cared about what I want? I have always cared about my team, Kakashi replied in a hurt tone, and I don't believe that you should go. Too bad. Naruto fought to keep his voice even. I already got permission to leave from my teacher and I will be gone within the hour. How could that be? I never gave you permission to leave the village. You were never my teacher, Naruto answered bluntly, so why should I need anything from you? What are you talking about? Kakashi was starting to get angry. What have you ever taught me? When have you ever helped me? What reason have you given me to consider you my mentor? Naruto Kakashi froze searching for a response. I taught you how to walk up trees. No, you showed me how and told me to work it out for myself. Try again. I never treated me like a member of your team. Turned me away when I begged you to teach me something. Naruto supplied helpfully. If ninja who don't care for their teammates are worse than trash, then what is a teacher that does not care for his students? Kakashi felt his insides twist painfully as he considered Naruto's question. I don't know either. Naruto shrugged, but I don't believe that he has any right to call himself a teacher. Goodbye Kakashi. Kakashi watched as the blonde walked out of sight, wishing he could find the words to convince the boy to stay in the village, wishing he could go back and start over. Good afternoon Anbu of the Leaf, Naruto's voice startled the group. Is there something I can do for you? It's been 18 months since your team was wiped out, the leader said. It's time to come home. Afraid I can't do that, Naruto said cheerfully. Sorry you had to come all this way. Tell the old man that I'll be back after I finish my mission. The Hokage has ordered you to return, the masked Anbu said in an even voice. Not now, Naruto snarled. The happy mask he'd been wearing disappeared. I'm too close. Are you refusing to follow the Hokage's commands? The Anbu asked cautiously. No, Naruto said with forced calm. I'm refusing to abandon a mission without cause. What mission? The Anbu asked curiously. I've taken a C-rank mission to protect this village, Naruto said smugly. And abandoning the mission would be against village law. You can't take missions. The Anbu frowned under his mask. You're just a genin. Wrong. I'm the team leader for Team 3. Naruto's voice took a lecturing tone. According to village law, a team of beginning genin must be led by a junin. Village law also states that in the event the team leader's death, the next ranking man will take his place with a temporary rank until returning to the village. I haven't returned to the village for over a year, so I'm a Junin team leader and village law states that I am allowed to take missions. I see, the Anbu's voice betrayed nothing. Then I suppose I have no choice but to leave half of my team until the mission is complete or until they get relived. Nice try kid, but the Hokage wants you back. Understood. Naruto's face lost its smirk and went blank. Naruto didn't say a word on the long journey back to his home village. Welcome home Naruto, the Hokage said with a smile. You've been away too long. Not long enough, Naruto growled. I was within weeks of killing him. My sources tell me that you wouldn't have been able to complete the assassination, the Hokage said slowly. They tell me the odds of success were close to zero. Tell them to run the numbers again, Naruto demanded. This time with the understanding that the survival of the assassin is unimportant. The old man was at a loss for words. He killed my team, Naruto said sadly. No one survived that day, I died that day with my comrades. All you see now is an empty shell. Death is nothing to look forward to Naruto. I don't see it as death so much as being reunited with the only people that ever cared about me, Naruto replied. Why did you call me? The graduating class was uneven, the old man replied. I needed another candidate to even out the teams. They still at the school. Yes, and if you hurry, you can still get there in time. You've been assigned to Team 7. Understood. Naruto left the old man and made his way to the academy. Naruto walked through the doorway to his old classroom and was mildly surprised to find the place empty save for two students that he vaguely remembered. Who are you? Sakura asked. You can't be the instructor. Team 7, Naruto sighed. That's us, she agreed. I'm the third member, Naruto said. I don't remember you from the academy, Sakura said. When did? Naruto tuned the girl out was soon asleep. Wake up, Kakashi yelled at the sleeping boy. You here already? Naruto asked. Okay. Why don't you introduce yourself? Kakashi suggested. Name, likes, dislikes, dreams, that sort of thing. My name is Naruto. I like. The boy looked lost. I dislike several things, and my dream is to be with my team again. That said, Naruto hopped up and walked out on his surprised team. Be at training area 15 for the final exam tomorrow, Kakashi called after the retreating boy. I. You were supposed to go hide Naruto, Kakashi smiled. Just a quick question first. If I fail this test then I get sent back to the academy. Naruto gave his first genuine smile in years. Yes, Kakashi said slowly. I give up. You're too powerful for my feeble skills and I have no chance of passing, it's better that I return to the academy. Why? Kakashi asked suspiciously. Academy students can't be labeled missing nins, Naruto smirked. I suppose I should thank you for this opportunity. Because of you I don't have to waste too much time in the village. I see, Kakashi frowned. I'm afraid that it won't be that easy Naruto. Why not? Naruto taunted. Those two don't have a full brain between them, they'll never figure out the real test, and if they did, they'd never ask me for help. They might surprise you, Kakashi offered. It takes 3 to pass a team. Naruto rebutted, it only takes 1 to fail. Naruto spent the rest of the day in the shade of one of the trees watching the older ninja make fools of his potential teammates. Life was good. You all pass, Kakashi grinned. What? Naruto's voice was flat and dangerous. You showed that you already understood the true principle of the test, Kakashi explained. And Sakura showed good teamwork with Sasuke. Sasuke didn't show anything, Naruto hissed. Except the fact that he's as arrogant as any other member of his family, I refuse to be on the same team that shows such blatant disregard for their teammates. I'm afraid that's not your decision to make, Naruto, Kakashi smiled. Why don't you take the time to get to know your new team members? Why don't you go to hell? Naruto retorted as he began to walk away. Be sure to tell me when you get AC rank. Team meeting tomorrow, Kakashi called after his student. Don't be late. What are you gonna do? Naruto laughed. Send me back to the academy. Take my forehead protector. Be my guest. I'll think of something, Naruto. Face it, Kakashi, Naruto replied as he was about to fade out of sight. There is nothing that you can do to me that hasn't already been done. I've already been given the worst punishment that can be thought up. Anything else you might do pales in comparison. What's the punishment? Sakura asked, wanting to know what had been done to the loud boy. Keeping him here, Kakashi frowned. Naruto would like nothing better than to have his ties to this village cut. Hey old man, Naruto yelled as he walked into the Hokage's office. I just heard something in class that I can't believe. What is it, Naruto? The Hokage asked kindly. Why does Orochimaru want to destroy Konoha? Deciding that the boy was too young to accept the truth, the Hokage decided to have a bit of fun with him. Because he hates ramen, the Hokage answered after a few moments of contemplation. He wants to destroy our ramen stands and then to destroy all the ramen stands in the world. That's terrible. Naruto was aghast. That it is, Naruto, the Hokage agreed before disappearing, which was a shame because if he had stayed around for just a few more minutes he would have seen Naruto vowing to destroy Orochimaru and forever end the threat to his beloved ramen. Naruto spent the next day doing something he would have rather not done, research. But Iruka-sensei had said that if you know your enemy and if you know yourself you'd win or something, and that was what he was going to do. Which is why he was crouching behind a garbage can watching one of the street vendors. There she was, his best chance to learn the dirty snake's fighting style. It had taken months for him to ferret out the information that the traitorous ramen hater had a student that had remained in the village, and almost 15 minutes to figure out a plan that would force the woman to reveal her fighting style. A fighting style that would give him an idea of what to face when the moment of truth finally came. What's up, sweet cheeks? Naruto asked as he slapped the woman on the butt. How much for a few minutes of fun? Anko froze when she felt a hand on one of her and reflexively drove her elbow back to get the bastard in the gut. Turning in confusion when she hit nothing, she was surprised to find a young boy looking up at her with innocent eyes. Who put you up to that, kid? Anko said with a sweet smile. If you tell me, I'll give you a lollipop. What flavor? Naruto asked suspiciously. This wasn't what he expected, but the old man had said that no plan survives first contact with the enemy, and what the hell, he had always been good at improvisation. Cherry. Okay, Naruto agreed brightly. Him, the one with the stupid mask reading the orange book. Here you go, you little scamp, Anko said as she gave Naruto the candy. Kakashi. Cherry. Naruto smiled in contentment as he watched the woman try to kill the weird man. This is even better than the original plan. I can watch much better if I'm not the one being hit. Not in the face, not in the face. Kakashi managed to get out between girlish screams. Back to the face, back to the face. And so the years passed. What are you doing, kid? Anko asked the little boy that was in the process of fondling her. Looking for the silly cone, Naruto replied innocently. Weird masked guy said that you had a lot of it in your chest. He did, huh? Anko said. Kakashi. Die. Wah. Kakashi looked up from his book. Ah. That isn't supposed to go there. No. 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 Hey kid, one of the passing Junin whispered to Naruto. Yeah, guy with a freaky bandana on his head. The name's Ibiki, the man said. Anyway, don't you feel just a little guilty about the way you keep sending Anko to abuse Kakashi for something he didn't do? Why would I feel guilty? Naruto asked with a frown. I like you, kid, Ibiki laughed. Here, take my card. Be sure to look me up after you become a ninja, I might have a job for you. Okay. Nothing like a good sadistic beating to cheer me up, Anko said to herself as she walked back to the brat. Yay, creepy snake lady, Naruto cheered. The name's Anko. Yay, Anko, Naruto corrected himself. Way to beat up evil masked guy. Be straight with me, brat, Anko began with a smile. Kakashi didn't do any of those things you said he did he? Nope. Naruto agreed. You're not mad, are you? Even if he didn't do what you said he did, I'm sure he did something. You just gave me an excuse to bring him to justice. Okay. But I was wondering, why do you keep getting Kakashi in trouble like that? I wanted to see you fight, Naruto replied. So I could see your style. Why? I wanna kill Orochimaru, Naruto growled. And I need all the pointers I can get, seeing your fighting style is one of them. When the time comes, Anko began. Why don't we kill him together? Can we do it slow? Of course we can, now give me a hug. Kakashi watched it all from his position on the ground, he really hated that kid. He growled as Anko pulled the boy into a hug, that should be his face pressed into the hot sadistic girl's. And passed, till Naruto was ready to take the final test to become a genin. Doing your bell test again? Anko asked when Kakashi finally showed up. Anko. Kakashi stammered. What are you doing here? Watching Naruto pass your test, the woman said dryly. Now get on with it. Yes, well. Kakashi told his shocked students the rules and started the timer. Go Naruto, Anko cheered. You were supposed to go hide Naruto, Kakashi said with a smile. I just wanted to ask you something first, Naruto said. Fine, Kakashi sighed. Can I use any ninja skill? Naruto demanded. Even the really tricky ones? Yes you can, Kakashi said. Even the really tricky ones. Hey Anko, Naruto called out. Guess what Kakashi just called you? You bastard, Anko screamed as she attacked the surprised Kakashi. Mommy. Naruto watched his friend pummel the poor Junin for a few minutes before he picked up the small bell that rolled up to his feet. Anko, look. Naruto said joyfully. I got a bell, I pass. Congratulations Naruto, she said as she dislocated Kakashi's shoulder. Let's go eat dango to celebrate. Ramen. Dango. Ramen. Dango. Ramen. Dango and ramen, they yelled together. I hate that kid, Kakashi whispered to himself as he tried to regain enough strength to move. 5 ramen old man, Naruto ordered. For each of us. Alright Naruto, Ichiraku agreed cheerfully. He hadn't been at all sure he approved of the boy's relationship with the village's #1 sadistic bitch at first, but after seeing the boy's smile. You know that thing I've been working on? It's ready, Naruto asked eagerly. For the first test anyway, Ichiraku agreed. Yay. What are you babbling about, brat? Anko demanded. Dango ramen, the old man replied as he set 2 bowls on the counter. Tell me what you think. More, Anko growled after her first sip of the broth. Coming right up. So just why do you hate my old teacher so much, kid? Anko asked as she waited for her next bowl to arrive. I learned about some of his plans, Naruto said with a sick look on his face. And no one could stand aside after hearing what I heard. I'm sorry you had to get exposed to that kid, Anko said sadly. No one should have to. That's why we're going to kill him, Naruto said firmly. Aku Soku Zan. Good boy. And before they knew it, Naruto was competing in the Chunin exams. Mongoose summons. Naruto said as he dodged a strike by a giant snake. This means something. Oh yeah, Orochimaru. Dodging another strike, Naruto summoned a giant mongoose. Go get him Riki Tiki Tavi, Naruto cheered. I'm gonna go kill the summoner. The mongoose made short work of the snake and joined its summoner as he ran to kill his sworn enemy. I. Wahahaha. Orochimaru laughed. The only way you can get power is by coming to me. And before you do, get rid of that pesky gag reflex. Wait, what? Sasuke asked in shock. And be sure to get really flexible, Orochimaru continued. Learn how to, put your ankles behind your head. Sasuke was saved from having to answer by the timely arrival of Naruto. Orochimaru, Naruto screamed. For your crimes against Ramen, there can only be one sentence, death. Wah! Orochimaru stared at the crazy kid charging towards him. Hadn't he sent a snake after that kid? No matter, he'd deal with him right here. Riki, I am. Oh shit, Orochimaru screamed as the giant mongoose attacked. By Sasuke Heim, remember what I said. Creepy, Sasuke whispered to himself as the strange ninja disappeared. It was like facing 100 fangirls. Until finally, sound invaded. No, Naruto whispered as he took in the scene of destruction. No. Naruto's eyes turned red and 9 tails of chakra lit up behind him. Turning away from the destroyed ramen stand, the grief-maddened boy went off in search of his prey. You're trapped in here, sensei, Orochimaru taunted. Nothing can break that barrier. Die. Naruto went through the unbreakable barrier like snot through a Kleenex. You again, the snake Sanin screamed. Why won't you leave me alone? All I wanna do is kidnap your friend and eventually steal his body. Destroy your village, and kill the Hokage. Is that too much to ask? I don't care about all that, Naruto said as he ripped out the man's heart. Then, why? I'll never let you destroy something as wonderful as ramen. Orochimaru could only think one thing as he died. That thing was, what the hell is this kid talking about? Good job, Naruto, the Hokage gasped. Something told him that this wasn't the right time to tell the boy that it had all been a joke. The third was having a rather uneventful day in his office when a slight shift in the atmosphere alerted him that he was no longer alone. You called us, Hokage. And we came. Mr. and Mrs. Yamada, he said in delight. I was wondering if you'd gotten my summons. Forgive the delay, we weren't anywhere near our usual area of operations. Anything I need to know about? Rumors about the new village, the man said. Or rather disturbing. In what way? Recruitment of missing nins for one, the woman said. Hardly surprising, the Hokage mused. Fairly normal for a new village to boost their numbers that way. That may be true, but there's something off about the village, the woman said with a frown. I can't say more than that without more information. Fine, the Hokage agreed. But that wasn't why I called you. You're aware of Uzumaki Naruto? The boy with the seal. Yes, the Hokage said. I have recently come into some rather disturbing information regarding him. Oh, one of his teachers came to me, he continued. Seems that the other instructors are actively sabotaging his development. You wish us to investigate? Yes. Then it shall be done. 3 days later, the Hokage again found himself playing host to unexpected company. Well, it is as you said, Mr. Yamada said. They are doing all in their power to keep him back. Could he pass the exam? Sandame sighed. Possibly, the woman agreed. He's on the low side but could pass with the right examiner. Then it seems long past time for me to observe the graduation, the Hokage mused. Have you considered the other matter we discussed? We will consider teaching a team, Mrs. Yamada said slowly. Provided we get to choose our students. Who do you want? Uzumaki, Matsushika, and Nakamura. Mr. Yamada said firmly. Uzumaki might be open-minded enough to work with us, Ms. Yamada explained. Time will tell. Care to tag along? The Hokage asked as he put on his hat. Why not? The group arrived at the academy to the surprise of several Chunin instructors. Hokage, the Chunins in Naruto's class said in shock. What are you doing here? I came to observe this year's exams, the Hokage said evenly. I hear young Naruto is competing this year and I'm hoping to see him pass. Understood, sir, the man said through clenched teeth. I don't think you do, the Hokage said with a smile. I'm hoping to see him pass, but only if he has the ability. I do not want to see him passed if he does not have the ability. Yes, Hokage, the Chunin agreed. I shall see to it. Everything will be above board. Good. Time to go see the exam then, I think. I believe that Uzumaki was up next, sir. The Chunin led them into the room. Looks like he's about to start the thrown weapon test, sir. He picks up 10 of each projectile and must make 7 hits out of 10 to proceed. I understand, the Hokage said with a smile. Bit different than it was in my day. Naruto made his throws and it looked like he passed, to the strong displeasure of the examiner. Uzumaki passes this section. Are you sure about that? Mrs. Yamada asked. The one on the edge is a bit iffy, Mr. Yamada agreed. What do you know? Naruto barked. I passed, didn't I? That's what we were discussing, Mr. Yamada replied. Do you know what this test is? It is a test to determine if you have learned enough of the skills here to go into the field. Or if you need more time before you pose out, Mrs. Yamada picked up. Broken down, it's an attempt to weed out candidates that are so unskilled that their very presence would endanger their instructor or teammates. Lives are at stake, Mr. Yamada explained. Yours and those belonging to your team. So the question remains, Mrs. Yamada said calmly. Did you do good enough? Why don't we score it the old way? The Hokage suggested. No chance for ambiguity then, but it's a bit less forgiving than the current method. Up to it, Naruto. I'm up for anything, Naruto agreed. Then let me think. The old passing grade was 75 but the current takes 7 hits. So, 70%. The one on the edge would be worth half points. The Hokage took a few moments to calculate the points. 71 points. Congratulations, Naruto. Thanks, old man, Naruto cheered. Why don't we calculate the points received in the old method as well as the new? Mrs. Yamada suggested. I'd rather just the old method, Mr. Yamada amended. The new way doesn't seem to be very precise. I'll make a note to talk to the administration about it later, the Hokage agreed. But for now, I'd like to let Naruto decide. Would you rather use the old grading system or the new one we developed after losses cut down our effective strength? No way am I going to take the easy test, Naruto shouted. If I'm going to take your job, then I can't take any easy routes. Excellent. Let's see the rest of the exam then. They watched as Naruto completed the rest of the exam and finally the Hokage turned to his 2 associates. Well, passed by 2 points, Mr. Yamada said. 3 here, Mrs. Yamada gave her own tally. I'm a bit easier on the subjective stuff. You hear that, Naruto? The Hokage said with a smile. You passed. I knew I could do it, Naruto cheered. Yes, you did, the Hokage agreed. Drop by my office in a few hours, I'd like to see how the other exams play out. A Hokage should always have a good idea on the strengths and weaknesses of the shinobi working under him. I'll remember that, Naruto agreed as he bounced out of the classroom. I've got to get back to class now. Back to class. Iruka made me promise to come back to his class after I was done with my exam, Naruto explained. Later, old man. Well, the Hokage muttered. How would he have done on the current exam? Might have scraped through, depending on the more subjective stuff. Thank you, the Hokage said softly. Naruto ran down the hall and burst into Iruka's classroom. Guess what? Naruto shouted. Quiet in class, Iruka yelled. Now go take your seat. Yes, Iruka-sensei. You're going to need to know this after you become an active ninja, so pay attention. Yes, Iruka-sensei, Naruto agreed. To the instructor's private amazement, Naruto did listen. The boy watched in fascination as Iruka continued his lecture, shooting the occasional glance of confusion his way. Naruto checked his notes one last time before he left. Iruka had said that he'd need to know this if he was going to be an active ninja, and Naruto was not going to let the man down. He still wasn't sure how Iruka had known that he'd passed his exam before being told, but he was sure that it would become clear in time. Maybe Iruka just had faith that I'd pass. Naruto muttered to himself as he walked towards the Hokage's tower. No, that can't be it. He just talked about how ninja can't assume anything and how it's okay to make guesses so long as you don't confuse guesses with facts. Naruto was still mulling over the problem when he arrived in the Hokage's office. "About time you showed up," a young girl said sullenly. "I had to finish at the academy," Naruto retorted. "Let's not have any of that," the Hokage said kindly. "Naruto, these are your prospective teammates. Harumi Nakamura and Keiko Matsushika." The two girls looked over Naruto with unimpressed looks. "You are going to be our teammate?" Keiko sneered. "Are you sure he's up to it, Hokage?" Harumi agreed. "The three of you got the lowest scores on this year's exam," the Hokage said mildly. "Were there any other questions? I thought the best student of the year was supposed to teamed up with the worst student." Harumi asked. "There are exceptions to every rule," the Hokage said. "Why did we get an exception?" "Because we requested you," Mrs. Yamada said. The three students jumped in surprise when she revealed herself. "And refused to teach unless we got to pick our own students," Mr. Yamada agreed. "Where'd you come from?" Naruto shouted. "We were always here. We'll teach you in time. For now, come with us." The couple led their students out of the Hokage's office and into one of the empty meeting rooms on the same floor. "My name is Kei Yamada and this is my husband Kenji," the woman began. Most instructors give their prospective students some sort of test on the first day to determine whether their team has enough collective potential to bother with. Failures go back to the academy and successes go on to become genin. "We aren't going to do that," Kei said. "We don't think it's possible to learn enough about you in one simple test. So we're going to do something a bit different," Kenji said. "If you're good enough to be our genin, then you're good enough to be chunin." "With that in mind," Kei said, "you can be sent back to the academy as unsuitable at any time before we nominate you for your first chunin exam." "Harumi," Kenji began, "your father is a tailor and your mother is a seamstress. Did they teach you anything of their craft?" "Enough to maintain my gear," the girl said. "I could probably make my own clothes, but they wouldn't look very good." "I want you to have them teach you more when you're not doing team activities," Kenji continued. "When you feel confident enough, you're going to make your teammates gear. Understand?" "Yes, sir." Kei said. "Your mother is knife maker and your father is a blacksmith." "I could make a few things, but I'm not up to making shinobi weapons," Keiko replied quickly. "I'm not sure my parents could either. Mom makes kitchen knives and dad concentrates on ornamental gates and that sort of thing." "Be sure that your mother starts by teaching you how to sharpen them and your dad teaches you to make your own tools," Kei said firmly. "When you get better, then we'll see about putting you with someone who can teach you a few more tricks." "Okay, Naruto," Kenji said to the boy. "You are an orphan, you have no parents to teach you anything." "But we have spoken to a friend of yours," Kei said. "You will work in the kitchen at the ramen shop." "All right," Naruto cheered. "Can I ask a question?" Harumi held her hand up. "You may. And you do not have to hold up your hand anymore." "Why do you want us to learn these things?" "Several reasons," Kei said. "How about we give you the biggest two? 1. It builds teamwork. 2. Kenji said with a smile. It helps with the kind of missions we like to do. Infiltration, Kei said. It helps when you can go in with nothing. You get searched and they find nothing. Because there's nothing to find." "But what about Naruto then?" Keiko demanded. "How is cooking ramen useful for missions?" "For one, he'll start out as the team cook. Don't underestimate how morale boosting it is to have real food." "I don't think I could eat nothing but ramen," Harumi said with a wrinkled nose. "It's good every now and again, but not all the time. He will be learning to cook other things after he becomes competent with ramen," Kenji said evenly. "And after he's a well-rounded chef, he'll start working with an apothecary." Might also be a good idea to have him learn a bit from the medic nins, Kay mused. I don't want to be a medic nin, Naruto protested. Good, a chance to teach our first lesson as Jonin instructors. You can't always do what you want. Because you must always do what's best for the team, Kay said firmly. The team is everything, it's people you've spent years with. People you may not like, who you may hate. But also who you'd die for. So if you becoming a medic nin would be best for the team, then you will be a medic nin. If becoming a garbage man would be the best for your team, then you will be a garbage man. But worry not, Naruto, Kenji said. We don't expect you to become a medic nin. You don't have the control needed, Kay explained. We just want you to learn a few tricks. You'll understand later. You all will. Naruto's life quickly fell into a routine. They trained from before the sun came up until breakfast. After breakfast, they were expected to spend several hours in team building exercises, which usually ended up being both disgusting and mildly life-threatening until lunch. More training until dinner, and then work until well after dark. This continued for several weeks until they couldn't stand it any longer. That's it, Naruto screamed. When are we gonna get a mission? Do you know what sort of mission genins are normally assigned? Kay asked mildly. Dog walking, babysitting, cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping. What? Harumi asked in horror. What kind of missions are those? Most teachers use them as team-building exercises, Kay explained. We prefer our own methods, Kenji agreed. If we're going to humiliate you, then we're going to humiliate you, Kay said firmly. We don't need a middleman. Now then, what should we do? Time the meta log, Kay said with a smile. Naruto. Yes, Kay-sensei, he asked wearily. Do you see that log sitting over there? She asked sweetly. The one that's about 16 around and 6 feet long. Uh-huh. Could you help Kenji drag it over here? Yes, Kay-sensei, he agreed. Here's how this exercise works, Kay said with a smile. You three take the log with you everywhere. You'll need to keep in step to avoid tripping each other, Kenji said. You'll get used to it after a few days. The three students just shared a look of combined displeasure. After you master this, it may be time for a mission. A real one, not one of those fake dog-walking ones. Or maybe not, it all depends on how fast you pick it up. And how well you work together. I. How are your students doing? Learning to hate the log, Kay said with a grin. Memories, Kenji agreed. Ready for their first mission outside the gates? The Hokage asked. Depends on the mission. Backup. We're sending another genin team to clear out a group of bandits. And you want us to be in the area to lend a helping hand if it should be needed. They could do that, Kay said. I'm not sure they're ready to make their first kills. They are just children. This mission shouldn't require that, the Hokage assured the couple. There's always the chance, of course. Of course, they echoed. We'll take it. I. This sucks, Naruto complained as they made yet another lap around the training field, lifting the log from shoulder to shoulder. When are we gonna get a mission? How about now? We got you a C-ranked mission. But don't get excited just yet, you may think of this mission as a test. Not like the ones at school. Because we'll give you the answer first. Always good to allow the taker to know the standards first. If you fail it, then we'll know that you've got some time yet before you are ready to get another mission. After all, if you can't pass a test when you know the answer, I don't think we need to continue. What's the mission? Naruto demanded. Rescuing a princess, fighting bandits maybe. Sitting in a restaurant, Kay said. Maybe taking a little walk in the woods. What? Harumi demanded. Are you two nuts? We're going to be back up for another team, Kenji explained. Their task is to eliminate a group of bandits. Ours is to back them up, Kay said. Now here's the tricky part. You pass if they don't know you were there. You fail if you reveal yourselves unnecessarily. Understand? No fighting, Naruto asked in disappointment. Not if everything goes well. You'll find that's the case in most missions. Anyway, we have 1 week to prepare. Harumi, I want you to make a set of civilian clothing for each of your teammates. It should be designed to accommodate a slightly colder and wetter environment than we have here. Keiko, if you feel up to it, then we need you to make a utility knife for everyone. It'll come in handy on the trip and you'll find life much easier with it than you would without it. About 4 inches should do it, Kei mused. Naruto, food and spices for several days. And you won't be cooking nothing but ramen. We happen to know that you can also cook gyoza, fried rice, and a few other dishes. Harumi, Keiko, you two go with him to help him shop. Both to prevent him from buying nothing but ramen, and to prevent the shopkeepers from overcharging him. If they try that trick with you there. Understand? Roger. Got it. No ramen. You may bring the things for a couple meals of ramen, but not a steady diet. Okay, Naruto agreed slowly. Some was better than none. And while it wasn't something he wanted to spread around, he did enjoy other foods. Just not nearly as much as he enjoyed what had quickly become his staple. Get to it, Kenji ordered. I'm going to want you to have everything ready the day before the mission so I can look it over. That will be the day after tomorrow. It's always the leader's responsibility to make sure that their subordinates are properly equipped, Kei agreed. Remember that. For now, we're giving you the remainder of the day off to prepare. Don't disappoint us. Come on, Naruto, Harumi said. We'll go shopping first. The two Junin watched with a grin on their faces as the two girls dragged off their teammate. I almost feel sorry for him. I don't. The three children went into the shop and began to gather things at Naruto's direction. 4 pounds of beef and see if you can find any suet, Naruto said firmly. Iyu, what do you need that for? Keiko asked in disgust. Kenji-sensei slipped me a book on camp foods the other day, Naruto replied. This was one of them. You're studying? Harumi asked in shock. Good job, Naruto, Keiko said quickly before the boy could take offense. It is my job, a red-faced Naruto said with a pleased grin. How dare they bring that bastard here, the owner grumbled. Unnoticed by her students, Kei dropped behind the angry shopkeeper and began to whisper in his ears. If you try to overcharge my students or treat them in anything other than a professional manner, I'll cut out your tongue. I. Kei was gone before her students reached the register and they stared at the odd man for several seconds. Why do you think he's pale and saying I? Harumi asked. Better than he usually is, Naruto grumbled. He normally yells and says how lucky I am that he lets me shop here. Free, the man finally gasped. It's all free today. Then you won't mind if we get a few other things? Keiko asked. No, why would I mind? He asked nervously. In Naruto, from now on you get a 20% discount. Okay, Naruto agreed slowly and unsure of the man's sudden change in attitude but unwilling to look a gift horse in the mouth. Thanks. They finished their shopping and carried their supply to Naruto's apartment. How long is it going to take you to get everything together? Harumi asked. A while, Naruto admitted. What if we help? Keiko asked. Less time, Naruto said. Then why don't you show me what to do? Harumi asked. Sooner you get done, the sooner you can help us. Okay, Naruto agreed. Your knives suck, Keiko said bluntly. Dull too. I know, Naruto said with a downcast look. You two get started while I sharpen these, Keiko ordered. We can see about getting you a better set later. Thanks, Naruto said with a grateful smile. Okay, Harumi, the first thing I need you to do is to start washing this stuff. Outside, Kei and Kenji shared a look of pride as they watched their students work together. Looked like being an instructor wouldn't be such a bad job after all. I'm proud of them, Kei said with a smile. They're good kids. With any luck, they'll stay that way. Or get better. The two instructors watched as Naruto and his teammates finished with the food and began debating what to do next. It'll take some time for me to make your clothes, Harumi cautioned. Same with the knives, Keiko agreed. Could you do your work at my house? I should be able to. Why? Because I can't do anything away from my parents' tools, Keiko explained. If we all go to my place, then we can work on everything at the same time and pass Naruto back and forth to whoever needs him. That should work, Harumi said slowly. Let's do it. Do I get a say in this? Naruto asked. No, you don't. Now you two are doing it, Naruto said in horror. They left Naruto's apartment and made their way to Kiko's house with a short stop at Harumi's. See this pole? Keiko asked. Yeah, pull it in and out until I tell you to stop, she ordered. What's it do? That's the bellows, she explained. Pulling it in and out provides air to make the forge hot enough to work metal. Oh, okay. Naruto complied with the instructions and watched as his friend put an iron in the fire. They worked for several hours and Naruto was bounced back and forth between the forge and the corner that his other teammate had commandeered for herself. That's enough for today, Harumi said stiffly. We can do the rest of it tomorrow. They all went home and returned the next day and worked feverishly to get everything done in time for the inspection they had to endure the next day. Done, Keiko said as she finished sharpening the last knife. What about you, Harumi? Just finished the last stitch, the girl said proudly. You're done too, aren't you, Naruto? Yeah, Naruto agreed. I am. Great. Kei announced her presence. Because it's time for your inspection, Kenji said. Pack your things and meet us at the training area. I thought we had another day. Naruto protested. Look outside, Kei said fondly. You worked through the night, Kenji explained. They all packed and followed their instructors to the training area. The first thing you need to do is lay out the tarp Harumi was good enough to make. Then, I want you to lay everything out on top of that so I can see everything you have. We'll make any additional instructions after we've had a chance to look at what you've got. The students complied and the instructors went over their possessions. You sure you can carry that much all day, Naruto? I'm sure, Naruto agreed. If you say so, Kenji said doubtfully. There are many reasons that you're operating in a team and one of them is to have more people to share the load. They've got enough to carry, Naruto said simply. And we already split it up a little. If you say so, Kenji agreed. But remember, it'll be a while until we make a break long enough to rearrange things. You'll have to suffer through the first day if this is too much. I know, Naruto said firmly. Keiko, Kei said sharply. Why do you have a mirror? Signaling, Keiko said quickly. Then what about the makeup? You told Harumi to make civilian clothes, Keiko said. Civilian girls wear makeup. All except that, Kei said. Very good. You may repack your things. Me now? Harumi asked. You now, Kenji agreed. What's in this pouch here? Needles and other things I use to sew, Harumi replied. I rushed through the outfits so fast that I'm afraid I might need to make some repairs on the move. I didn't open it because I don't want to lose anything. Good job, Kei said. All of you, put your packs in the North Guard house and meet us at Naruto's ramen stand. We're going to have a meal together. After that, you're all to get right to sleep. You have a big day ahead of you and an early morning. You are to meet us at 0200 in front of the North Gate. Any questions? The genin shook their heads and quickly set out to follow their teacher's instructions and rejoined them at the ramen stand. My special, Naruto called out. Gyoza and fried rice please, Harumi said politely. Shiro, Keiko said absently. So what can you tell us about the mission, sensei? As we said before, the mission is fairly simple. We are to go in ahead of the other genin team and provide backup if necessary, Kei said. If possible, I don't want them to even know that we were in the area. Who's the other team? It's a genin team under a Junin named Guy, Kenji replied. It consists of a Hyuga Neji, a hand-to-hand specialist named Lee, and a weapons specialist named Tenten. We went to school with them, Harumi said. They're going to kill bandits. Possibly, Kenji agreed. But just as possible their instructor will attempt to bring them in alive, Kei sighed. He's a bit of a softie. But that is a mistake that I don't want any of you to make, Kenji said firmly. 9 times out of 10, prisoners are nothing but a hindrance to the mission. What else do we need to know? Keiko asked. The route, and everything else the village knows about the mission, Kei replied. Read. The three genin went over the report as they ate their meals. Any questions? Why isn't there more information? Keiko demanded. Konoha has never been much good at information gathering, Kei replied. Much too dull for the average nin to pay much attention to. We're trying to change that attitude, Kenji added. Knowledge is power. Any other questions? Kei looked around the table. Then get home and go to bed. You have 10 hours until you have to meet us, Kenji said. Spend as much of it asleep as you can. The team reformed the next day at the North Gate and Naruto felt a rush of adrenaline as they walked out. It was the first time he'd ever gone outside the village on anything more than a short trip and the excitement was killing him. The group traveled in silence for several hours until the sky began to brighten. It's almost dawn, Kei announced. Time to find a place to make camp, Kenji agreed. Brambles. Good a place as any, Kei agreed. Come along children. How come we gotta go in there? Harumi protested. Those thorns will scratch us up and ruin the clothes I just made us. It'll also be much safer than out in the open, Kenji explained. The middle of a patch of brambles is an excellent place to camp because of that. The mission is that dangerous. No, Kei admitted, but it's best to act as if it were. Just to get you three in the habit, Kenji explained. Don't forget that this is as much to train you as it is to help the other team. With only a few obligatory protests, the team made their way to the center of the patch and cleared an area large enough to set up camp. Come with me Naruto, Kei ordered. What's up? You like traps don't you? Kei asked. I recall hearing something about pranks. Yeah, Naruto agreed. We're going to set up a few traps around the game trails, Kei explained. You can't always do that and you can't always have a fire, but when you can it's often a good idea to try to supplement your diet and try to stretch your rations. But we'll only be out here for a few days. Probably, she agreed. But it's also good training. Are you turning down a chance to train? No, let's get to training. Naruto cheered. I thought that would be your reaction. As he followed her out of the bramble patch, he couldn't help but notice how much easier it was for her to move through it. Kei-sensei. What is it Naruto? How is it that you're able to move through so easily? There's a trick to it, she replied. Watch. I think I've got it, he said. Maybe. Why didn't you show us earlier? Motivation, she said. After going through it earlier and seeing how hard it was, don't tell me you weren't eager to learn an easier way through. Yeah, but if we can do this then can't others? One of the reasons we're out here is to make it more difficult, Kei explained. It isn't just animal traps we're going to set. Okay, Naruto agreed. She showed him how to set up a few simple traps to restrict mobility around their campsite and then led him deeper into the forest. Do you know what this is Naruto? Looks like they're onions. Naruto replied. Very good, and this over here is wild garlic. Should we pick some? Would it go well with the meal you have planned? If not then we can always use it later, Naruto said after a moment of thought. And if you find a way to use that mint up the trail then Kenji might kiss you, she said with a fond smile. He loves minty things. Really? Yes. Then we had better not get any, Naruto said firmly. I don't want to do anything that might break up your marriage. She stared at him for several long seconds before bursting into a musical laughter. Thank you Naruto, he's not much but it would be too much trouble to find another one. You could always pick some for him yourself, Naruto suggested. And I'll grab some for the girls. Very good idea Naruto, thank you. They set several deadfalls and snares on the game trails but Kei was skeptical about what they might produce. 1 in 4 was the best we could hope for, she said, putting a damper on Naruto's enthusiasm. And I doubt we'll see that until you get a bit better. Right now I'd be happy to see 1 in 10. But that's only 2 successes. That's right, she said with a shrug. Let's get back. I'm hungry and you're the cook. The sooner we get back, the sooner we eat, Naruto said. Let's go. The two of them cautiously made their way back through the traps and the brambles to find a rather impatient team waiting for them. Took you long enough, Harumi grumbled. We're hungry. And I have our cook, Kei said with a smile. Get to it, Naruto. What am I supposed to cook with? Naruto asked. Are we allowed to have a fire? We are, Kei said. Kenji. Watch carefully, Naruto, Kenji said. And I'll show you how to make a fire. Naruto watched in fascination as his instructor dug 2 holes and connected them with a small tunnel. Why do things like that, sensei? Makes it harder for the fire to be seen, Kenji replied. And you remember the dry wood we collected earlier? Yeah, less smoke that way, and with any luck the tree branches will disperse anything else. Oh, how do I cook on that? Few ways. We can set up a tripod and lower a pot. Or we can set the pot right on the coals, or we can put a couple pieces of green wood across the hole and set a pan on them. I understand. Think you can handle it? I think so, Naruto agreed. Don't really have a name for this, but I do plan on finishing it at some point, got several ideas for it anyway. And for those that were wondering, yes, a slight variation of this was going to be the backstory to, not a very happy idea. Omake. The Razafukuro. Ah! Naruto screamed. The battle with Neji had pushed him to his limits, and just when all seemed lost, something happened. It can't be, Orochimaru muttered in awe. The Razafukuro. Ah! Naruto continued to scream. A pressure began building behind his eyes. Not knowing what else to do, he blinked. The crowd gasped as a beam of light shot out of his eyes and removed the head of the disguised Orochimaru. What's happening? Naruto asked as he looked around, consequently killing dozens of people, but they were all extras and sound nins, so no one cared. Naruto, Sarutobi said softly from his hiding place behind a well-placed mirror. Could you close your eyes and think about not incinerating everyone? Why? Naruto instinctively turned towards the sound of the old man's voice and killed a family of 5. Humor me. And that's why you're worthless, Sasuke finished with a smirk. Even Kakashi agrees. What makes you say that? Naruto asked mildly. The fact that he doesn't take you out to train, Sasuke boasted. While he has one-on-one training with me all the time. Ah, tell me, Sasuke. Naruto made a few quick seals behind his back. Have you taken a close look at the cover of Kakashi's book? What do you mean? Sasuke demanded. What about his perverted book? Just look at the cover, Naruto suggested. Fine, Sasuke agreed. The boy got up from his seat and walked over to his sensei and paled in shock. Well, Naruto asked when his teammate returned. I don't want to talk about it, Sasuke stammered. Didn't know he was reading the yaoi edition, huh? Naruto asked. Puts a whole new spin on that one-on-one training. I said I didn't want to talk about it, Sasuke stubbornly maintained. Okay, Naruto agreed. Just thought I'd give you a warning. What are teammates for after all? That should put an end to all those personal lessons, Naruto thought to himself with a satisfied smile. His eyes widened as Sasuke eagerly obeyed Kakashi's summons and the two went off for their private time. Or not, he said to himself. You think you know someone. Hey Kakashi-sensei, what are we supposed to do? Why don't you two take the day off? Kakashi suggested. You deserve to have a break. But what about training? Naruto asked weakly. No amount of training could help a loser like you, Sasuke said with a smirk. Yeah, you idiot, Sakura agreed. Kakashi considered and discarded the idea of calling his student back as Naruto's shoulders dropped in disappointment. It really was for the best to give Sasuke all his attention, he told himself again as he watched Naruto walk away. Every second he could give to his most precious student strengthened the village 10 times more than a second wasted on his other two. Naruto knew that he couldn't let his teammates keep belittling him like that. After all, how would people respect a Hokage that didn't stand up for himself? The only problem was that Sasuke was too strong. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but Naruto could admit that fact, if only to himself. What to do? He wondered to himself. if only being a ninja was like playing jokes on people. Sasuke would never know what hit him. He might have the edge on ninja skills, but when it came to pranks, Naruto was a master. His mind made up, Naruto set about the task of planning his next operation. They would pay, he cackled himself. Oh yes, they would pay. I. This next jutsu. Kakashi trailed off. What was that strange look in the boy's eye? As I was saying, this next jutsu allows you cover your head with lightning. It isn't very useful on its own, but there was that look again. But it helps to learn other lighting jutsu if you master this one first. Are we going to be doing any sparring today? Sasuke asked dully. I think I need more practice with my grappling. No grappling today. Right then. The first thing you need to do is. What is it, Naruto? The Hokage asked kindly. I was just wondering. Naruto began with a poorly concealed smile. Can anyone pay for a mission? Yes, the old man agreed. Anyone, even you. Then I want to hire Konoha to do something for me, Naruto said grandly. So long as Team 7 gets the mission. What is it, Naruto? The Hokage asked with a sigh. First, I want to know if there's a discount for only using a partial team. You mean if you were to give your sensei a day off or have one of your teammates do the same? Yeah, Naruto agreed. To be frank, he was impressed with the boy's cunning. It was brilliant, assign a long mission to himself and the girl. It was the perfect way of going on a date with a reluctant teammate. Sure, he said with a smile. I'll only charge you a bowl of ramen. Really? Naruto squeaked. You're the greatest, old man. So what's this mission you want assigned? Guy. Yes, my eternal rival, Guy agreed. I need your advice, Kakashi sighed. I think one of my students just came onto me. So young Sakura has entered the springtime of her youth, Guy said loudly. You must remember to let her down gently so that. Not Sakura, Kakashi corrected. Sasuke. What? Guy asked flatly. Why are you asking me about this? Well, you are gay, Kakashi replied. Aren't you? No, why would you think that? Well, the green spandex. The fact that you constantly work out, the way you hug that student of yours, Kakashi ticked off reasons. As Guy stammered denials, Kakashi came to two conclusions. The first was that coming to Guy had been a mistake, and the second was that he'd just pretend like nothing had happened and hope that everything went back to normal. Naruto slept in the next day and made the short walk to the Hokage's office around an hour before his teacher would normally show up to meet them. Hi Kakashi-sensei, he said cheerfully. No mission today, Naruto, Kakashi said. Why don't you take another day off? Okay, Naruto agreed. He ignored the angry secretary and burst into the old man's office. Ready to go get our ramen now? Let me just grab my hat, the old man said. Sakura shot another glance at her favorite teammate as she waited for her other teammate and their instructor to show. Where was that moron? She wondered to herself. It wasn't like him to be so late. Maybe he was staying away to give her more time with Sasuke. If that were true, then she'd have to thank him, in a way that made it clear that she had absolutely no interest in him. You're late, she screamed when she noticed her instructor watching them with an odd expression on his face. Sorry I'm late, but, quote, liar. Where's Naruto? Sakura demanded. That idiot's even later than you. He won't be taking part in this mission, Kakashi said firmly. Our client has requested that the two of you perform this mission alone. Really? Sakura said with little hearts in her eyes. Yes, Kakashi agreed. And you are not to tell Naruto anything about this mission, as far as he knows you all have the day free. What is the mission? Sasuke entered the conversation. Well, What? Naruto looked up from his ramen with a smile. That'd show them for calling him a loser. Old man, another bowl of ramen over here, and I suppose my friend here could use one too. Thank you, Naruto, Sarutobi said. But the mission only required one bowl. I'm just paying for the next one in advance, Naruto explained. Now eat up. Ramen is no good if you let it sit too long. Right, you are Naruto. I. Meanwhile, at the home for old incontinent and morbidly obese ninja, the nurse was getting ready to tell everyone the good news. Why'd you take me out of my room? One of the senile old, that is to say patients, demanded shrilly. I just wanted to get everyone together to tell you the good news, the nurse explained again. A 2-person genin team is coming here today to give you all your sponge baths. The old folks seemed to brighten up a bit at that thought. Also, she continued, I've been told that they would like nothing better than to hear all your old stories. If this works out, our benefactor has promised that he'll hire the same team to come back here as many times as we like. They all attempted to cheer, but that caused their dentures to fall out. As she looked at the denture-covered floor and the drool-covered patients, the nurse silently thanked her savior for sparing her this fate, if only for a day. While Sakura and her object of affection were exploring every nook and cranny of the senile old crones, Team Guy had gathered for their daily training and mission meeting. Guy looked pensive as he called for the meeting to begin. Guy turned to his team. Tell me, my youthful students, do I seem gay? Hi, sensei. You are the gayest man I know. No matter what happens, you are always upbeat and striving to do more. You are the picture of youthful passion. Lee shouted, beaming. Guy shook his head. I mean in the manner of a male that seeks other males for close companionship rather than women. Neji froze and did his best to fade into the background. It is not my fate to get involved in this discussion. Fate don't fail me now. Tenten shrugged. I think the spandex and eyebrows are seen as a bit of a turnoff, plus we never see you flirting with women. Guy scratched his chin thoughtfully. The spandex and eyebrows are a turnoff. It's why I wear them. I'd never have the time to train if I couldn't repel women while at work. I've never found the need to flirt. I simply walk into a bar and say my pickup line if I desire female companionship. Really, Guy-sensei? Lee asked hopefully. What? You only have one pickup line? Tenten stared incredulously. Of course. Why would I need more than one when the one always works? Neji stopped trying to become one with the background and leaned forward curiously. Guy-sensei, I do mean to sound unyouthful, but if I don't get the chance to spend some time with some females in a manner involving close contact other than fighting, there is the definite possibility that I may shatter all my gates and impregnate half of the village. May I please know the line you use? Lee asked intently. Of course, my youthful student. I'm sorry I didn't tell you it before, it was an unforgivable lapse on my part. Simply walk into the nearest bar and say, I can do 100 push-ups with my tongue. Anyone wanna see? The girls will flock to you like Naruto to ramen. Hi, Guy-sensei. Lee radiated energy, seeming to vibrate in place. I must go test this technique. The flare of chakra gates opening blinded everyone, and when they blinked their vision clear, Lee was gone. Neji snorted. And what will happen when they discover he can't do 100 push-ups with his tongue? Guy shrugged. After 20 push-ups they usually shred whatever you are wearing and jump you, so it's really never come up. Lee is a hard worker, but he still can only do 95 before tiring. I have faith that he will manage to get 100 before the year is out, so a little fib really isn't that unyouthful. Tenten stood there, drool leaking from the corner of her mouth with a glazed look in her eyes. N90FF5. Neji stared. That is part of the youthful training regimen you two do after the team meetings. Guy nodded. Of course. It is only fitting that as your Jonin I do my best to help you succeed in life, and picking up women is one of the things all young males should know. I am blazing with the power of youth. Neji shouted. Time to train. Neji, your blazing youthful energy has finally relieved. Guy shouted with tears flowing down his cheeks. How I have waited for this day. N90FF5. Tenten agreed with glazed eyes. I. Kakashi was a bit concerned when he started the team meeting. Sakura and Sasuke stared at him with flat dead eyes, eyes he'd last seen during the last ninja war, eyes that had seen too much. So, how did the mission go? It's too soon, Sakura sobbed. Don't make me remember that. Moving right along, it must have gone well because our client contracted the two of you to do it again today, isn't that nice? I. No. Anko looked up from her dango and giggled at the sound of someone screaming in unimaginable pain. After making a mental note to track down and compare notes with whoever was responsible, she turned back to her meal, noting that food always tasted much better when accompanied by the sound of a spirit breaking. I. Kakashi was surprised to find a note pinned to his door. If you're not on a mission with your other two students, then you can train your third. If you can't train your third, then you can find out what happened to your first two. That seems clear enough, he mused to himself. Now, where would Naruto be at this time of day? It didn't take long for Kakashi to find his wayward student, and the boy's reaction to learning that he was going to be trained shot a little spike of guilt into Kakashi's heart. He wasn't that bad, was he? You're really going to train me? Naruto cheered. I really am, Kakashi agreed. He fingered the note in his pocket. No way was he going to find out what had broken the spirits of his other two students. We'll start with I. 5, Guy counted. One more, my youthful student. Mumph. 6. What was that? I wanted to know how you dealt with the taste, Neji replied. Just close your eyes and think of something else, Guy advised. 5 minutes rest and we'll try it again. Wah. Neji paused as he remembered what had happened before. Yes, Guy-sensei. Dogbert Carroll wrote the meeting for Team Guy, did a good job too. Not a very long chapter, but I did add an omake. Omake? A different Hinata. Unnoticed, Hinata's hands formed several seals as Neji ordered her to surrender. I can't beat you in a fair fight, brother, Hinata admitted nervously. You're giving up then? No, Hinata stammered. I cheated. I had one of my teammates use one of his insects to poison you before the match. Please, give up before the damage is permanent. No one could doubt the sincerity of Hinata's last statement. Byaku, URK. Neji tasted bile. Please, Hinata begged. Give up. You don't have much time left. Byakugan. Neji took a menacing step towards his cousin. Here, Hinata sobbed. A small glass vial appeared in her hand. Take it. I don't care about the fight, I just don't want you to get hurt. Neji snatched the vial out of her hand and closed his eyes as a dizzy spell hit. Popping off the cork with his hand, he downed the contents. You are within the field of my. Hinata smiled as her cousin toppled to the ground. Based on the dose, I'd say that he'll wake up in a day or two. You know it's against the rules for your teammates to interfere, right? Hayate asked with a cough. Genjutsu, Hinata explained. And I didn't start it until after the match had begun. Nice work, kid. Excuse me, Sasuke said dully as he walked into the Turkish bath. But do you have a bulletin board that I can post a message on? Sure, the man behind the counter agreed. But I don't think this is your kind of place, Uchiha-sama. Why not? Sasuke demanded. And my name is not Uchiha, it is Sakura. Sakura. Yes, Sasuke agreed. Sakura, I have pink hair and nothing to do with Sasuke Uchiha, understand? Sure, the man agreed. Whatever you say, kid. Sasuke walked up to the bulletin board and posted a small message containing his description and a notation promising a good time in the Uchiha district, and another that assured the reader that it had nothing to do with Sasuke Uchiha at all. With a smile of anticipation, Sasuke walked out of the bath and into an alley. Naruto giggled as he dropped the henge. This was gonna be fun. He was more than a bit disappointed to find out that his little stunt hadn't resulted in the dramatic confrontation that he had hoped for. In fact, as far as he could tell, no one had even answered the fake ad. Sighing at another missed opportunity to send a bit of payback in the direction of his teammate, Naruto forgot about his little stunt until he heard the rumors that he'd accidentally spawned. I should have known, Ino sighed in disappointment. No boy is that pretty. Called that one, Kiba said with a satisfied grin. Akamaru. Arf. Kakashi's youthful student has finally discovered the springtime of his youth, Guy declared loudly. Though not in a manner that I would choose. Not that there's anything wrong with that, Lee added quickly. Of course not, Guy agreed. They can't be true, Sakura sobbed. They just can't be. Maybe I could get him to agree to an open relationship. He must be after Naruto, Hinata said fearfully. No one can resist Naruto. Hinata. Why? Yes, sensei. Hinata asked timidly. Hinata, about your match. What is it, sensei? If you win, the Genjutsu mistress licked her lips. I'll set you up on a date with Naruto. Really? The shy girl asked hopefully. Really? And if you beat Neji badly enough, I'll set you up on more than one. Her nervousness melted and Hinata was ready, nay eager to begin her match. No one paid much attention to the start of the match. Neji gave a speech about fate and Hinata seemed to be lost in a daydream that involved a lot of blushing and giggling. People began taking notice when the shy little Hyuga dodged her cousin's strikes, responded with several of her own, and threw him to the ground. What's my name? Hinata screamed at the badly beaten Neji. What? I said. Hinata punched the boy in the back of the head. Say my name, bitch. Hinata. Neji sobbed. It's Hinata. The whole crowd watched speechless as Hinata had thoroughly owned her cousin Neji with the use of several completely unknown techniques like bitch slap no jutsu and the nutcracker suite. The only voice that could be heard cheering for her was Naruto, who had shown a surprising appreciation for a violent Hinata, as he loved to see the underdog win and Neji was asking for a beatdown in his opinion anyway. Across the stadium, Hanabi glared at the Uzumaki. What was so special about him that captured her older sister's attention? Byakugan. Hanabi began to drool, his chakra was like some sort of visual chocolate. Soothing and rich, she shivered as she contemplated spending hour upon hour just letting his presence wash over. No way was she going to let her sister hog all that to herself. After all, Nanny had always said that good sisters shared everything, and after watching Hinata insert a kunai into a place that caused every man in the audience to cringe, well, Hanabi was rethinking the whole antagonism thing. It hadn't been at all difficult for the young girl to convince her father to set up another match with her older sister, not after seeing what had happened to Neji. But Hanabi did have to admit, if only to herself, that she was having second thoughts as the match was about to begin. For Naruto, the young girl thought to herself, so we can be together. Hiyashi sighed as he watched his two daughters square off. Even after seeing it, he wasn't sure how his oldest daughter had managed to defeat her cousin. However she managed, it didn't seem like she was going to do it again. Big sister. Hanabi began. You know how Naruto is too much for one woman. What are you saying? Hinata growled. Automatically, Hinata's hands prepared to unleash her most devastating technique. Hanabi gulped as her sister prepared to deal out the dreaded bitch slap no jutsu. Nanny always said that good sisters shared everything, she added hopefully. Hinata's eyes narrowed in thought. Damn it, why did Naruto have to be so damned irresistible? Then she began to drool as she thought just what a combination of Kage Bunshin no Jutsu and massive amounts of stamina could do to a girl. Come with me, sister, Hinata commanded. I have something special to share with you. Hinata led her sister to the hide she'd constructed in the false ceiling over Naruto's bed one magical summer, and Hanabi gazed down in wonder at the sleeping boy. It's even better when he's asleep, Hanabi purred. It's because he's not trying to control his chakra, Hinata explained. It just sort of runs wild. I love you, Hinata, Hanabi said tearfully, moved beyond words that her older sister had chosen to share something like this with her. And I love you too, Hanabi, Hinata replied. Happy that she and her sister were finally getting along, who'd have thought that all it would take was a shared hobby. The days passed until finally, Hinata was on the date that her teacher had promised her. It was everything she dreamed it would be. First, Naruto had taken her to get ramen and loudly talked about himself and how he'd become Hokage, and then they'd wandered around town as Naruto proclaimed to the world how awesome he was. It was every girl's dream come true until. Hey Naruto, Sakura growled. Where have you been? Naruto, Hinata began shyly. I need to have a private word with Sakura for a few minutes. Maybe you could get us all some drinks. Okay Hinata, Naruto shouted. I'll be right back. Thank you Naruto, Hinata stammered at the boys retreating back. Really? Sakura said in confusion. I don't understand what you see in him. Hinata turned and the expression on her face caused Sakura to take a couple hesitant steps back. Suddenly the world blurred and Sakura found herself at what appeared to be the bottom of a well with Hinata looking down at her from above. Naruto scratched his chin in confusion as he inspected the array of beverages on sale, wondering which one Hinata would like. Kurenai had taken several hours to impress onto him just how he was supposed to have on the date she'd arranged for him, but for some reason she had neglected to mention what he should get if he was sent to buy drinks. Shrugging in confusion, Naruto grabbed an assortment of bottles and carried them to the counter. It puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again. I'm sorry I interrupted your date with Naruto, Sakura sobbed. Can I go home now? It does what it's told, Hinata hissed. Anko grinned sadistically as she watched. Hinata had learned genjutsu from Kurenai, but Anko was the one who taught her how to make it effective and she was proud of her pupil. Sakura almost broke into tears when the rock walls of the well dissolved and she once again found herself standing on a street corner with Hinata. Listen here bitch, Hinata hissed. Naruto is mine. You try to take him from me, I take your life from you, understand? Why? Yes, Sakura managed to squeak. Good, she purred. There you guys are, Naruto called out. I've been looking all over for you too. Sorry Naruto, Hinata said with a blush. We were just having a little girl talk. I didn't know what you liked so I got one of everything, Naruto said as he proudly displayed his purchases. Do you want some Sakura? Sakura said she had to be somewhere else right now, Hinata said timidly. Right. Yes, Sakura agreed quickly. I'll talk to you later Naruto, she screamed over her shoulder as she ran off with all the speed her legs could muster. I wonder what that was all about. Naruto asked himself with a frown of confusion. Oh well. What's Naruto look like? The squeaky voice caused Kakashi to spin around. Wah. Does Naruto look like a bitch? Hanabi demanded. Kakashi looked down at the little Hyuga in confusion. Do you think Naruto is a bitch? No, Kakashi replied, still a bit mystified by the fact that a little girl had managed to sneak into his apartment. Hanabi growled. Here's how I see things, Hanabi continued. You're gonna dump that Uchiha bastard to teach my Naruto how to win this exam, got it? Why don't you? Ouch, damn it. Kakashi rubbed his shin where the little girl had kicked him. Stop that. Ouch. I can do this all day, Hanabi growled in a cute voice that completely ruined the effect. Kakashi sighed. There was no way he could win this. If he used his superior skills to subdue the child, then he'd be seen as an evil bastard. If he lost, well, that was just as bad. Maybe he should take that month-long training trip out of town after all. Hi Hinata, Naruto shouted as he ran up to her. Are you ready for our date? Why, yes Naruto, Hinata agreed. You're looking very handsome today. Naruto basked in the attention Hinata was paying to him. She was so different from his long-time crush, she didn't hit him, and since she had talked to Sakura, Sakura didn't hit him anymore either. Though he did wonder why his long-term crush kept mumbling something about lotion and the importance of doing what she was told, Naruto set his curiosity aside in favor of more important things. I. Finally, the third part of the exam started and everyone leaned forward in anticipation as the fight between the last, loyal, Uchiha and the Desert Typhoon, as the bookmakers had labeled them. They waited, and waited, and waited until. God damn it, Naruto thought to himself. Where is that bastard? He listened in disgust as they debated what to do. Any other nin would have been disqualified by now, but no, not Konoha's golden boy. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he whispered under his breath. Not on his watch, Sasuke would be treated the same as everyone else if Naruto had anything to say about it. I quit. Every eye turned to stare at the last Uchiha who had just walked in with his teacher. He's too strong for me. It's okay, Sasuke, Kakashi consoled his student. You wanna go watch a gladiator movie in my apartment? But I wanted to hear about your time in a Turkish prison again, Sasuke pleaded. Why don't we do both? Kakashi suggested with thumbs up and a grin that rivaled Guy's. Okay, Sasuke agreed and the two of them walked out of the arena, leaving a shocked audience behind. Take that bastard, Naruto giggled to himself. He couldn't wait to see the look on Sasuke's face when he found out that he'd been disqualified. They'd probably still let the bastard in, but it would still be a memory that Naruto would treasure to his grave. It really wasn't me, Sasuke protested after he'd finally arrived. I just got here. Second thoughts about dropping out, huh? Well, too bad, you did it and you have to live with the consequences. It must have been an illusion, Sasuke whined. Listen to me, I just got here. It's true, Kakashi agreed. An illusion, hum. Well then, why don't you introduce me to this person who can do illusions good enough to fool several Cage-level ninja? Thought so, the examiner replied. It was a shinobi exam after all, such a feat would almost guarantee a promotion to whomever pulled it off. I saw nothing out of sorts, the head of the Hyuga family volunteered, causing his daughter's frowns to turn into smiles. Getting to put one over on the upstart Uchihas and look like a hero to his daughters, damn, I'm good. The man thought to himself as he watched the protesting boy leave the stadium. So the Hyuga girls like your youthful student? Guy shouted. Yeah, Kakashi agreed. He's like candy to them. And, bother me not with holes in the plot, hey, had to add that little rhyme. Thanks go to Dogbert Carroll for a bit of the above. Omake by Dogbert Carroll. Kabuto helped a severely beaten Orochimaru escape the village. Are you okay, master? What happened to you? The snake Sannin tried to come up with a convincing excuse for his condition. The third sealed my arms. Like it's possible to seal part of a person, but I hope he buys it, letting people know I was owned by a genin would ruin my reputation. Flashback no jutsu. You can make out with Sasuke all you want, give him hickeys, whatever, but you touched my property. You fondled my Naruto's stomach and for that you will pay. Orochimaru shivered. He wasn't planning on approaching the Kyuubi child ever again, lest he do something else that could be misinterpreted by that she-demon. My omake that goes with the above. Kakashi limped out of the hospital holding a rubber donut in his hands. On the plus side, the medics had said that with a bit of surgery and some healing jutsus that there'd be a good chance that he could someday enjoy a normal bowel movement. Mourning the loss of his beloved book, Kakashi resolved to apologize to his student and do his best to forget that incident where the demon girl had expressed the displeasure she felt about the events of the genin exam, specifically one taijutsu technique that he'd chosen to use. Omake for Warufuzuke no Jutsu 02 by Dogbert Carroll. Itachi gave Sasuke an emotionless stare. You are foolish to think that you could face me with the meager training as you have acquired so far, little brother. Sasuke grin carried more than a hint of insanity. Mangekyo. Itachi paused, surprised that his sibling had already reached the final level. So you used the mental stress of killing your best friend to achieve the Mangekyo Sharingan. Maybe I was wrong, maybe. You aren't as soft as I thought. Unlike Itachi's pupils, that had a simple shuriken design, Sasuke's pupils were an obscenely bright pink and sported a slowly rotating pinwheel. Sasuke's laugh was without humor. No brother, killing wasn't needed at all. In fact, my best friend, Sasuke made little air quotes with his fingers. Still lives, unfortunately. He arranged for me to undergo something unspeakable, repeatedly. It's not the killing that activates the final level, it's mental stress, and Naruto proved to me that there are things far worse than death. Itachi began to sweat. What situation could be so horrific as to equal the stress of killing your closest companion? But Sasuke hadn't finished speaking just yet. And then my other teammate took advantage of my weakened state and showed me things that would make demons cringe. I no longer fear dying or even hell itself. At this point it would be a vacation from what my life has become. Tsukuyomi. Itachi caught Sasuke's gaze and subjected him to 72 hours of the most horrific torture imaginable, by him anyway. Sasuke chuckled. That's what you consider torture? I almost pity you. I had spent weeks undergoing unspeakable things thanks to Naruto, and I actually am thankful for that, because if he hadn't put me through all that, I never would have survived what my teammate showed me with my sanity intact. Itachi turned as Sasuke slowly circled him, his manic grin even more insane than it had been. Sakura Tsukuyomi. Sasuke subjected his brother to what he himself had been through. Seconds later it was over. Itachi curled up in a fetal position and muttered to himself over and over, "Pink, too pink, unhealthy pink, not possible." Anko's boyfriend. Anko growled in frustration as she got turned down yet again. First she can't get a date because of who her master is, and then, after she's finally out from under his thumb, she can't get a date because of who he was. Dirty traitor, yet another thing he'd done to ruin her life. I mean, the seal was one thing, but keeping me from getting laid. He'll pay for this, she thought grimly. You'd think guys would be interested in a girl who had a technique to deep throat a katana, or one that would make her tongue 6 inches long and prehensile. But no, they were all blinded by the thought of who her teacher was. You'd think it would be easy to lose her cherry in a village full of horny bastards. Life just wasn't fair. Only way you'll get a boyfriend is if you grow one in a box or something, one of the duller girls said cruelly. Anko thought to herself. Raise my own boyfriend, find one young enough not to have any bad habits and train him until he's old enough, but who? You'll never get me, suckers, Naruto shouted over his shoulder as he did his best to escape his latest victims. Biwahahaha. Quote. That's it, Anko said happily. No one cares about the Jinchuriki, he's starved for attention, so he'll latch onto the first person who shows him any affection, and if he's got that much stamina now, heh. Some time later. 10, 11, 12, keep trying. Anko smirked. Naruto had managed to pick up the technique to lengthen his tongue fairly easily, and he currently had it wrapped around a chin-up bar. You're not coming down until you do 15 tongue pull-ups, Anko said firmly. Now get up there, Gaki, only 3 more. Anko shivered as she thought about how much fun they were going to have together in a few years. Do it and I'll teach you something cool. Ellie. Naruto mumbled, as he hadn't quite mastered speaking clearly while doing the jutsu yet. Yep, I know a jutsu that speeds up your reflexes, by using chakra to stimulate your nerves, and as a nice little side effect it makes your recovery time almost instantaneous, as long as you have the chakra to power it. She drooled a little as she considered the fact that, unlike most jonin, he actually had the reserves to use it. Elsewhere, Sarutobi wasn't quite sure how to react to the more than slightly unbalanced girl's plans for the Kyuubi container. While it was true that the girl's intentions were mostly benign, he couldn't help but feel a surge of jealousy every time he thought of Naruto's situation. The Hokage growled as he watched the busty girl train the village pariah. No boy should be that lucky. Life quickly fell into a routine for the odd couple. Anko spent nearly every available free moment with Naruto in order to train him in the ways of the ninja. Well, some of the ways of the ninja anyway. Anko. What is it, Naruto? Will you ever teach me that jutsu that lets you swallow a sword? No, and I don't want you to ever think about learning again, Anko said harshly. Damn it, The little brat was gonna be her boyfriend and she wasn't going to all this trouble just so her old teacher could get the brat for himself. Understand? Quote. Yes, he agreed. No, he thought glumly. Anko sighed as she saw that not only didn't he understand, but he was also disappointed. It's the kind of thing Sasuke would learn, and no male that learns that jutsu should be trusted. She told him, knowing just what buttons to push. Really? He looked at her thoughtfully. You want to be Hokage, right? Well, the bastard Orochimaru learned that jutsu and was passed over for Hokage, despite being the snake Sannin. They decided that the yellow flash was much more manly than he was and made him Hokage. Determination blazed in Naruto's eyes. I swear, I will become the manliest man in all the village. That the spirit. What makes a man the manliest? Naruto thought to himself, before deciding he'd have to do a little research on the subject. Later, at the hot springs, Naruto leaned back in the water and relaxed. His newly invented sexy jutsu seemed to have done the trick. The girls were talking about how manly their men were and giggling, and even though they talked about a lot of different things being manly, there was one thing they all seemed to agree was manly. I wonder if that jutsu can be used in other ways. After some training, Anko, look, Naruto called out. He proudly held up a hand with 15-inch fingers, thinking about what the girls had said about big hands being manly. You figured out a way to adapt the tongue extending technique for other appendages? Anko asked. She was impressed, and then a thought hit her. Naruto. Yeah, be sure to practice making all of your appendages longer and thicker, she ordered. All of them. Anything that dangles off your body, she agreed. Understand? Quote. Yes, he replied. No, he thought. Naruto was beginning to accept the fact that he'd never understand girls, a truth most men didn't learn till their early 30s. Wait, didn't the girls talk about dangly bits being big as a manly thing, but you had to know how to use it and be able to? Naruto's thoughts trailed off as he went in search of a board and some 6-inch spikes. Training Ground 36, later that evening. And always remember that training is itself the goal. To be a man, one must train to the utmost and never stop. Man's indomitable spirit is what you must strive for. Guy said stoically and smiled at his young apprentice, both dressed in traditional AGI. Yes, sensei. Training is its own reward. Lee affirmed. The two stopped as they heard a loud thunk and some young boy cussing like Anko when faced with a dango shortage. Curiously, they stepped around a tree and saw Naruto, training. Naruto reached down and picked up his latest success in the lengthening jutsu and slammed it hard against a spike, driving it a third of the way through a 2x4, before pausing and cursing loudly enough to turn the air around him blue and then starting the whole cycle over again. The two-leaf nin slowly backed behind the tree again. That, Guy stuttered. That youth, Lee said in wonder. Yes, youth, Guy said firmly. The power of youth, Lee asked. Yes, the power of youth, Guy shouted. We have been lax in our training, I see that now. But no more. Come, my youthful apprentice, we must learn to blaze with the power of youth. And after buying green spandex suits, to make their packages look bigger, the two set off to a new destiny of non-stop training and annoying those around them. The academy, weeks later. Listen up, Iruka yelled, today we're going to be learning a bit of Hojojutsu. This is important because failure to do a good job could endanger you or your team. We're lucky to have a guest instructor today who is going to help us all learn how to do this right. Kurenai chose that moment to appear in a swirl of leaves. Thank you, Iruka, she said with a smile. Now the first thing you need to know is. What, Naruto? Sensei, you forgot at least 8 ropes and 5 knots to do the job right. He said, thinking of the way he'd been trained in properly tying someone up. Naruto, Iruka screamed. You are not the expert here. Naruto watched for another 5 minutes before closing his eyes in disgust and putting his head on his desk. Naruto, Iruka yelled, pay attention. Why should I? Naruto asked in a sullen tone. You're doing it all wrong. Care to show us then? Kurenai asked in a dangerously calm voice. She knew that the brat was an orphan, so he didn't have any clan techniques. She was also a bit annoyed to have her teaching skills impinged upon in front of the class. How about a wager? If you can tie me up so I can't escape all you can eat ramen, Naruto cheered. Fine, she agreed, but if I can get out of it, then I'm going to tie you up and leave you here until tomorrow morning. She wouldn't really, but he didn't know that. Fine, Naruto agreed, but I'm not supposed to let anyone see my technique. Why don't you take the class outside for a short break then, Iruka? Kurenai suggested. I'll show the proper way of getting out of restraints when you get back. Stand up and form an orderly. Was as far as the poor teacher got before a mob of screaming children crowded their way out. Oh, never mind. Ready, kid? You bet. Naruto agreed, for the ramen. Naruto walked out to get Iruka 15 minutes later, and he was astounded by what he found when he returned to the classroom. His fellow instructor was bound and suspended from the ceiling. Her arms were bound tightly around her back, and the ropes around her chest did things to her that captured his attention for several seconds before he managed to drag his eyes to another part of her body to find large knots strategically positioned over erogenous zones. MMMPH. Kurenai tried to speak around the ball gag the little brat had produced from somewhere. Do you want me to cut you loose? He managed to stammer. Her emphatic nods. He quickly produced a kunai and slashed the ropes. Thanks, Kurenai said as she rubbed her jaw. Where the hell did he learn to do that? I don't know, Iruka admitted. He shows up with strange techniques sometimes. Iruka shuddered as he remembered the tentacle no jutsu. There were things in this world that no man should see. After being released from her bonds, Kurenai watched as the brat students poured back into the classroom. Hey Naruto. Did I win? Naruto asked excitedly. Yes, you won, she agreed absently, but where'd you learn those techniques? My girlfriend taught me, Naruto said loudly. Girlfriend? Kurenai glanced around the room, her eyes finally settling on Ino after remembering who the girl's parents were and the rumors she'd heard about them. Starting younger and younger, she sighed. Don't you think you're a bit young to learn these things? My girlfriend said that it's okay to learn these things but illegal to do them, Naruto explained. Anko had screamed something similar every time he mastered one of her techniques, followed by lots of cursing, and occasionally she'd leave for an hour or so and come back looking tired. Well, just don't do anything too drastic until you get older. Okay, Naruto agreed. He still had no idea what the crazy lady was talking about, but he thought it was best to humor her. Later still, Anko growled. That little Hyuga slut was eyeing her future man again. Well, she thought the little Hyuga slut was eyeing her future man anyway. It was always hard to tell with that clan. Bunch of dirty voyeurs, she thought to herself, although, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if the little bitch just watched. Anko grinned at the thought. Actually, it was a bit of a turn on, especially since she'd never know when the brat was using those freaky eyes of hers. On second thought, so long as the Hyuga kept her hands to herself, then all would be well in the world. Little did she know that Hinata was indeed eyeing her man, quite frequently in fact, as she had caught the tail end of one of his hammering sessions. Hinata, being no fool, had quickly manipulated all the other girls in class into going after the emo boy, Sass, something or other, figuring if they weren't skilled enough to realize how talented Naruto was, it was best that they learn to deal with disappointment men, and after using her bloodline, she knew the emo Avenger was a very disappointing example. Anko frowned as she thought about what to teach the kid next, perhaps some form of bunshin. Anko smiled in anticipation as she thought about using a three-way no jutsu rather than having to share. Mud bunshin were just messy. Lube bunshin maybe. No, better stick with a variant that was capable of independent thought. What are you gonna teach me today, Anko? Naruto asked, looking up at her with innocent blue eyes. Kage bunshin no jutsu, Anko replied. It'll make it so there's more of you. Anko drooled at the thought of experiencing the three-way no jutsu, or even the legendary gangbang no jutsu. Now be a good boy and learn it quickly so we can move on to something else. Okay, Anko. Naruto agreed cheerfully. After Kakashi's bell test. So, Anko purred, causing Kakashi to shudder. You like to play insertion games, do you? Kakashi winced when he saw the look on her face. How was he supposed to know that she'd befriended the little brat? The next day, Team 7 was surprised to find someone waiting for them at their meeting place. Anko. Naruto screamed happily. Hey Naruto, Anko replied. Looks like I'm gonna be your new teacher. What happened to the other guy? Naruto asked. The one with the stupid mask. Him. Anko giggled. He's in the hospital getting intimately acquainted with the village's best proctologists. Quote. Proc. PR. Doctors, Anko explained. Far away, a trio of proctologists were staring in fascination at Kakashi's poor and severely abused posterior. Do you know how she managed to get the pineapple up without breaking it? One finally asked. Twist on the whole, Naruto gets a teacher plot. Anko finds him and teaches him all sorts of potentially perverted jutsu while waiting for him to grow up. Hojojutsu is the art of tying people up, often incorrectly called shibari if you're using Japanese. You'll get much more interesting pictures if you Google shibari though, since the term has been adopted to mean the more perverted ways of tying up a person. Thanks go to Dogbert Carroll, who rewrote a lot of this, in Alan P. for a couple parts, and the idea to give Naruto a whole new reason to work on rope tying skills. Just a few omake. Omake. Gimp. Anko growled at the ramen girl as she flirted with Naruto. How dare that bit? On the other hand, what bondage dungeon was complete without a gimp? Anko giggled happily as she skipped merrily towards the Hokage's tower. Incidentally, this uncharacteristic display convinced 3 of Orochimaru's agents that they'd been made and that their master's former student was imagining all the horrible things she'd be permitted to inflict on them after they'd been taken into custody. One took pills, another cut his wrists, and the third elected to hang herself. Konoha had just scored a major counter-intelligence triumph and they'd never know it. Hey old man, Anko called out as she strolled into the Hokage's office, I want to hire a genin team for AD ranked construction mission. What's the mission? The Hokage asked. You need a new fence or something? Nah, I need them to construct a bondage dungeon under my tea room. What? Bondage dungeon? Anko said cheerfully, isn't it great? I got the plans from Ibiki in exchange for, well, on second thought. You don't even want to know what that guy's into. Anko considered herself a fairly open-minded girl, more and more so as the years passed without any action, but there were some things that even she found off-putting. In his office at the heart of the torture and interrogation section, Ibiki carefully arranged his new tea set around the table, being sure to put a cup and saucer in front of each of his stuffed animals and another in front of a very freaked-out missing nin. How do you take your tea? He asked in his cutest voice. Back with Anko and the Hokage. I suppose I could take that mission, Sarutobi agreed reluctantly, And be sure there's enough room for several people, Anko continued, and at least one live-in gimp. I love it, Ayame squealed, but where are the others? Others? Anko asked dumbly. Every proper bondage dungeon has at least 3 gimps, Ayame lectured. One on the wall hanging by their wrists, one tied to a rack, and at least one in Hojojutsu on a wooden horse with nipple clamps and a bondage mask that holds her mouth open as her arms are held behind her back straight in arm binders. Oh, I didn't know that, Anko admitted in shame. Another omake. Omake. Jailbait. Anko watched in horror as her old teacher disrupted the Chunin exams. Due to a rather obscure village law, Chunin and Jonin were legally considered adults no matter what their actual age rather than the normal 16 for genin and civilians. And now her old teacher had disrupted the exam, ruining Naruto's chances for promotion and Anko's chances to finally get some. Grawwwwwwww, she screamed in rage as she ran towards her old teacher, killing everything that got in her way. By his actions, Orochimaru had prevented Anko from becoming a real woman and she would make him beg for death. What's wrong, sensei? Orochimaru asked in a silky voice. Getting. He shuddered as a feeling of unspeakable dread rushed through his body. Seizing his chance, the Hokage did what all truly great fighters do when their opponent is distracted. Woo-pa! Sarutobi screamed as he put an end to his former student. Anko arrived just in time to see her former master fall. He's dead, she said dully. He's dead and now I don't have anyone to work out my frustrations on. Anko screamed. You know what? Sarutobi asked nervously. I think Naruto's actions today prove that he has what it takes to be promoted to Chunin, so by order of the Hokage he's a Chunin and thus a legal adult. Really? Anko asked with sparkling eyes.